This is information. This is me talking about about my new platform called TeachSpark. It is something that I decided to build. Well, I first started thinking about it when I was trying to find ways for my IB, International Baccalaureate, business management students to study for their upcoming exams. And I just felt like I wanted a way for them to study that was more engaging than kind of what's available. So, using one of the vibe coding apps, they're all about the same. I started trying to develop a software platform that could help them. And one of the most important things was a student told me, because I kind of built something, I was pretty good at it. I had been building different apps for over a year at this point, but one of the students told me something was wrong. There was a bug. I found like all these AI vibe coding apps. People think it's going to take over the world. I don't think that because I've used them a bunch and they're not that great. They make a lot of dumb mistakes that humans would never make. Anyway, there was a bug and he tried to use it and it didn't work. And he told me that I was trying to explain to him, he's like, he didn't want to hear it. He was like, it just needs to work. So I decided to try to figure out what I could do to make my apps just simply work. And with the help of other AIs and cobbling together different things, I was able to figure out some formulas to make that happen. So once I got kind of the genesis of TeachSpark to work for me, I was able to get the basics of the activity generation done. And from there, it was about trying to figure out what I wanted to be able to do in my classroom. As a new teacher, old person, lots of career experience, CTE teacher, teachers know what that means. I was not used to being in the classroom, even though that as an undergrad, way back when I was doing my undergrad studies, I wanted to be a teacher, but I was kind of talked out of it by a teacher when I was coaching basketball, which actually turned out to be fine because I don't think I would have had the same appreciation for teaching that I do now if I had never gone through the life experience that I ended up with before I started teaching. Anyway, so while I was building TeachSpark, all I could think about is the things that I hoped I would be able to do in my classroom with the huge diverse type of learners in every single classroom, and then taking into account the stories I would hear from other teachers at my school. Again, so this is high school, but after being in the teaching world, and I have a extremely, like a fantastic friend who has been teaching for 32 years. So even before I started teaching, we would talk about teaching all the time. I would talk about teaching with her, so I would hear her stories. And so when I was building TeachSpark, all of those things were in my mind. And how can I make this easier so that teachers can actually spend more time teaching and trying to reach, never going to happen, but trying to reach the individual students on an individual basis. We don't have enough time. Not going to happen, not with our current system. But at least for public school, I'm sure there's probably some charter schools and other situations where those things happen, which you totally understand why people homeschool, which TeachSpark works great for homeschooling too, because it creates unique activities every time, which at first I was thinking about that. I mean, it's AI, right? So You tell the AI what you want, and it's good enough at this point in the AI universe that it knows the things that we need to teach students. So back in the day when it was doing hallucination, that was because it wasn't trained in everything. But by this point, the generations that are being developed and deployed, they know everything that a high school student should know. K through 8, K through 12, it knows all that stuff. So part of the reason TeachSpark works so well for teachers is because teachers know their subject really well. And since a teacher knows what is supposed to be taught in the classroom, they just need ways to help show that information to students in a variety of different ways. Part of the reason teaching is so hard is because you have 5 different levels of learners in your classroom of 30 students, say. And for you to spend the time to create lesson plans and activities for all 5 different levels, it's impossible. So when you have 5, let's say 3 IEP students or 504 students, maybe you may have 10 504, maybe 3 or 4 IEPs, but in the same class, depending on what you're teaching, depending on your subject, it's impossible. It's impossible for you to engage each of those different learners at the level they need to be engaged. So that was a big part and why I created differentiation levels within TeachSpark. I love to use videos. So actually one of the first things I did was I tried to figure out how I could embed videos into TeachSpark without having to go through the whole, like watching a video. Yeah, of course you want to watch the video. You need to watch the whole video, make sure it's appropriate for your students. And it's talking about what you want them to know. But then you have to go through and you have to create a bunch of multiple choice questions and the false answers, which is, come on. And then you also have to come up with short answers if you really want to test them or get an assessment. So that was one of the first things when I was building TeachSpark. That's one of the first things I worked on, trying to make sure that you could use a YouTube or Venmo, or not Venmo, the other video applications online. You could use a YouTube video, let's just say that, and you can paste a YouTube video. Now, what I learned through testing is that you also need to, when I first was doing it, it was working pretty well with just a YouTube video, but then I realized if it didn't have more information, it would just make stuff up. So that's no good. So you need to put the YouTube video link and the transcript, or Gemini has this great thing that's called Ask. So if you ask about the video, it comes up with a selection for you to summarize the video. So TeachSpark works great if you use a summarized video, and that comes out with a fantastic lesson. And then again, I built TeachSpark so you could generate a lesson. It takes 5 to 7 minutes, or not lesson, an activity. These activities typically are not long enough for you to have a whole class on just the activity, maybe depending on what you're teaching. So that's why I built into TeachSpark the ability to create a lesson plan and also print a worksheet and print an answer key. A lot of this stuff is for experienced teachers. They have a bunch of this stuff, which, by the way, you can take an old lesson plan or any other document and upload it into TeachSpark, and it will build an activity around that document. It could be whatever it is you have. So if you check out TeachSpark, you'll see what that is. But these are all things that I thought about in my now 7 years of teaching, that, God, wouldn't it be great if I could have something that could do this for me, and then I could spend time talking to Tommy over in the corner who's been struggling. And then when I learn what Tommy is really interested in, I can go to my TeachSpark app and I can create an activity that is geared totally for Tommy or Julie or Jesse or whatever your name is, whatever the name of your students are. But that's a lot of the reason why I created TeachSpark. It has an ELL differentiator that you can use. Common Core, a good friend of mine, family, who teaches, is going to be teaching 5th grade. Mentioned in California, of course, obviously in every state that's not the case, but in California, 41 states I think has Common Core. But in California, the having Common Core is an important issue. Common Core aligned lessons and activities is important, so that's why I added that. Anyway, I'm not sure how long I've been talking now, probably for a long time, but I just wanted to go into a little bit about why I created TeachSpark, how I created TeachSpark. I just got flagged on Facebook for, it's probably a copyright thing because I posted something with a video from SciShow Kids, which is what my friend who teaches 5th grade told me about. And I think that's why somebody reported me on Facebook as being against the policies. I hope it wasn't because they think that what I am advertising can't work, which is not true. If they would simply use TeachSpark for a while, they would see that everything I'm saying works. It's I use it in my own classrooms. Other teachers at my high school use it in their own classrooms. So everything works. I just am excited. I'm excited about the opportunity that teachers will have to maybe not spend so much time during the back end stuff, which no one told me about before I got hired as a teacher and got put in front of 30 kids. It's funny, I think about the classroom as those nature videos when you see the little ducklings, they're little birds, and whatever they are, little birds, like all chirping, they want the food, mine. That's what a classroom is like, right? You come in and there are 30 eyes, brains, unique individuals, all looking for you for information. And then if one of them decides to do something crazy, you got to try to figure out what that's all about. But anyway, so my whole goal in creating TeachSpark, obviously, wouldn't be able to be done years ago. But with the tools we have available now, my whole goal in creating TeachSpark was to make it easier, to make it so that teachers can do what they were hired to do, what's in their heart. Teachers can follow their passion and actually teach and not end up like my friend. Part of the reason years and years ago, he said that teaching was more about babysitting. So I wanted to be able to create something that could give teachers the opportunity to be more than babysitters.